Once upon a time, there was a sea monster. He lived deep in the ocean, so deep that not a single ray of light ever penetrated his dark, cold world. Sea Monster lived on the shores of a large undersea lake. The lake had mountains rising all around it, except in one part where the shore sloped gently down, making a sort of beach. The rocks along the edge of this beach were Sea Monster's home. Because it was so dark and deep beside his undersea lake, Sea Monster himself was luminous. This means that he made his own light and looked a little like a Christmas decoration shining from within. There was also noise. His deep, dark world was not quite silent. There were the squeaks and whistles of the other creatures. Sometimes there was the low, long hooting sound of a passing squid, or the swishing sound of a deep water shark. And very occasionally, Sea Monster heard the magical songs of the whales as they called to each other across hundreds of miles of ocean. But Sea Monster was not happy. He was lonely. True, there were lots of creatures who also lived on the shores of the wonderful underwater lake. Many of these were also luminous, and they existed in an amazing profusion of shapes and sizes. But none of these creatures was the same as Sea Monster. Where he had tentacles, they had smooth, rippling frills. Where he had long fins, they had short, stubby ones. And where he had a long conical body, they had round or oval ones. So Sea Monster was sad. All day long he swam around, up and down the shore, sometimes even venturing out over the lake in search of another creature who looked just like he did. But the lake was a strange and dangerous place. Most of the sea creatures kept very close to the shore. They knew that sudden and strong currents sometimes swirled around the sea above the deep, heavy lake. So when Sea Monster set off one day out over the lake in search of another sea monster like himself, the other creatures cried out in fear. "Do not go," they cried. "Do not go. Stay here. Stay with us. Stay safe." But Sea Monster did not stop to listen. He headed out over the lake. He was going to find another creature who looked just like him. Pretty soon, Sea Monster lost sight of the shore, and the lights of all the other sea creatures faded into darkness. He could feel himself being dragged hither and thither by the strong currents. He was being twirled around, twisted and buffeted. He lost any sense of which way he was swimming. He was lost over the lake. Gradually, Sea Monster became more and more exhausted and confused. He did not know where he was or what he was looking for. All he could see were the heavy, dark waters of the lake beneath him. Suddenly, Sea Monster saw lights, tiny pinpricks of light in the darkness ahead. Summoning all his strength, Sea Monster waved his tentacles and flapped his fins. He moved slowly and painfully towards the lights, And now, strangely, the current seemed to be helping him along. It was as if the sea above the lake was pushing him gently towards the lights. As Sea Monster got nearer to the lights, he saw that he had reached the opposite shore of the lake. There was a beach, rather more rocky than his beach, but a beach nonetheless. And there were many creatures swimming around the shore, each creating its own little pool of light. But something made Sea Monster so happy that he reared his whole body up in one great happy jump. It was the sight of a large group of sea monsters swimming towards him, and they all looked exactly like he did.